welcome back to the show. Now, we often see fair trade when you're buying goods, but what does it mean, and how can you be a better consumer?
We are a fair trade city, and Jeff Geipel joins us now. He's the founder of Fair Trade Vancouver. How are you, Jeff?
Great.
Nice to see you,
Thanks
man.
for
Tell us
coming.
about Fair Trade Vancouver, first of all. What is it you guys do?
We promote fair trade awareness and sales and availability in Greater Vancouver.
Nice.
We want to improve the lives of people in developing countries.
So what does fair trade mean?
Fair trade is the idea that farmers and producers in developing countries get a fair price and fair wages for the work they do.
Well, that's ridiculous. No, I mean, it seems like a simple idea, and yet we're sort of living in a world where everything's predicated on the fact that we can get it cheaper somewhere else, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the issue with the world economy right now, is that producers and the share of wealth, yeah, exactly, the share of wealth going to the people who are actually making the products is so small.
Now, what is fair trade designation, and what does it mean for Vancouver to be a fair trade city?
Well, products are certified fair trade if they meet the requirements for being fair trade, fair prices and environmental conditions. And then a fair trade town is any city where the citizens are buying fair trade products in large amounts, and also the city is supporting fair trade.
And that was sort of that last little step, wasn't it, for the city of Vancouver, the declaration. Was it May 6th this year?
Yeah, May 6th, Raymond Louis had a resolution that was passed supporting fair trade products and an ethical purchasing policy to buy fair trade products in the city.
Nice.
Well, let's do some educating and tell people about some products that they can buy to make themselves a fair trade consumer. Let's start with the coffee, because everybody buys it, and you often see fair trade on coffee. So tell us about this and where it comes from and why it's fair trade.
Well, this is a company called Level Ground in Victoria, and this is the coffee is from Ethiopia. And I mean, coffee is really where fair trade started in terms of commodities. Mexico, back in the 80s, people started going to Mexico and bringing fair trade coffee beans to the Netherlands, actually.
Oh, interesting. And are there designations people could, I see one right here, the fair trade, but are most fair trade items designated fair trade so that people know? Or?
When it comes to commodities, you look for a logo, that logo there is one. When it comes to handicrafts, it's a bit different because you can't really certify a handicraft for being fair trade. So
or generally, bananas, things like that.
Of course. Right? So the commodities are like that, but of course, Level Ground is also a member of the World Fair Trade Organization. So that's actually like a trade body of fair trade organization. So there's a few different ways of going about it.
Very cool. Well, and that's really part of what your organization does, isn't it? I mean, because that makes it easier for people if someone's sort of, helping them make sure that that's what's coming into the city and what's coming in.
Yeah, I mean, certification systems really help because it's hard to navigate through ethical claims from companies.
Right. It's kind of like organic, you know, you got to be certified organic because otherwise it's just a word. Okay, let's talk about wine, because I said to you this morning when I saw this, I said, I've never seen fair trade wine before, but there's a reason, because there's not a lot of it.
No, that's actually, Winds of Change is the only fair trade wine available in Vancouver right now. We're hoping that'll change, but there are dozens more available from Chile and Argentina as well.
And it's good, you say?
No, I hope.
Well, delicious. But I mean, one of the things people sometimes don't realize is, they think of wineries as these sprawling estates that make lots of money. Well, that might be true, but the people that are out there harvesting and sort of doing the grunt work may not be getting the largesse of...
particularly in South Africa, which has had, of course, a huge problem with racial relations.
So what is, sometimes with things that are fair trade, you have to pay a higher price to buy it. How can you convince people that that is the right thing to do?
Well, I mean, the prices sometimes are higher, but quite often they're not anymore because they're becoming more comparable in price as economies of scale develop. And so these are also high-quality products, too. I mean, almost all the products in Vancouver that are fair trade are also organic.
So you're getting something extra good for your money.
Of course, yes. And I mean, and you're supporting higher prices. I mean, higher prices for farmers. It's the same idea of minimum wage here in Canada, really.
Well, and sort of what we were talking about right at the beginning is that idea of a false economy. Well, just because you get it cheap doesn't mean that that's good for, anyone, really. I mean, including yourself.
You could buy a hamburger for $1 if there was no minimum wage here in Vancouver. Would that be right?
Well, tell us where you're going to be speaking and what's going to be going on.
Tomorrow, the Projecting Change Film Festival is doing a breakfast series, and we're starting off with a film called Buyer Beware. And that's going to explain fair trade and a bit about Forest Stewardship Council certified wood as well. And afterwards, we're going to have a panel. I'm speaking. Stacey Tays, who runs Level Ground Coffee from Victoria, will be there, as well as Roxanne Kay from 10,000 Villages, who does the handicrafts.
Tell us about 10,000 Villages and this piece that you've got here.
It's a really cool project.
Well, 10,000 Villages is a long-term project. It's actually the kind of current version of the first fair trade organization. It started in the late 40s. And there's 4 stores here in Vancouver, and they have handicrafts from, this is from Peru, this is from Bangladesh, so.
Stunning piece, the one over there. And people, I mean, it surprises a little bit. I was a little bit surprised by the bananas until I started looking around and realizing that a lot of stores have them now, but the flowers and stuff as well, because they would be local. So people don't necessarily make that leap that just because it's local doesn't necessarily mean that it's fair trade.
Well, when it comes to flowers, actually, most roses that you buy in Vancouver are actually imported from somewhere else.
Oh,
so sometimes
interesting.
you actually get the idea that products, even wine, I mean, BC wine is quite often made with foreign grapes.
Right.
So just because it seems local might not be. So, and in some cases, actually, it's economically, environmentally better to import than it is to buy local if you're building a greenhouse.
So look for the fair trade designation as long and short. If you're a consumer, this is what it does. It makes sure that people make a living wage.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. And if you want to educate yourself, Jeff will be speaking as part of the Projecting Change Film Festival. If you want to check it out, they're going to be screening the documentary Buyer Be Fair. Don't steal the line. That's not fair. That's happening tomorrow at 9 o'clock. You can go to Projecting Change, their website, to find out more info. Thanks again.
Jeff, thank you for coming and joining us today. Appreciate it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Nathan Fong will be joining us, food stylist and columnist for the Vancouver Sun, Global TV. I think he's celebrating 20 years. And today we are talking about watermelon.
And we're putting it on the grill.
We're putting it on the grill. It's going to go. Be right back with Nathan.